retail is the only industry where they refer to companies as brands. Brand is synonymous with the customer experience.
Somewhere between experimenting with AI and a fundamentally different company, there's a breakthrough. The founders on this show got there faster than most people think possible. This show finds out how. Each week, one founder, one honest story. What broke, what they built, and what their company looks like now. If you're ready to make the breakthrough faster than you thought possible, you're in the right place. This is Breakthrough AI Operators. Here's your host, Roland Sieblink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthrough AI Operators. I'm so glad you were able to make it again. This is the show where we talk with founders who made AI structural, not cosmetic, not just demos, not productivity theater, real operating model change. And today's guest is a prime example of that. He's processed more than 300 million customer service calls for brands like Under Armour, Tory Burch in the NFL, while building the company with roughly 70 people. The part I find most interesting is how it started. He was building a college ride-hailing app, and the real value turned out not to be the rides. It was the broken phone support infrastructure that was underlying the service. So he took that insight and made an early bet on vertical AI before it was a category that investors were even talking about. In his own words, the reason was simple. Deep industry specialization is where the real application mode lives. With that, everyone meet this week's guest, Brian Schiff. He's the co-founder and CEO of Flip. Hello, Brian.
What a lovely introduction. Although I can't say that I have processed 300 million phone calls myself. That sounds unbelievably tiring, but we've certainly built a product that is operating at that scale.
Well, whether it's us or our agents doing the work these days, it's all the same, right?
Yeah,
So,
who
but
can tell
thank
the
you for
difference?
being honest about it. In a way, it's slightly reassuring. I'm not sure I could get through a podcast interview with somebody who's actually done 300 million customer service calls all by themselves. So you'd have to be a very specific kind of personality to have survived that, I would guess, right? So
That's right.
very cool. So Brian, the key origin story, of course, right? You started with a college ride-hailing app, and then what did that failure reveal for you about the real problem that your operators were faced with?
So I met my co-founder a decade ago now.
Yeah.
And you hear the 10 years for an overnight success kind of thing. And then it's a little bit different when you live the 10 years. But yeah, we met in undergrad and really just wanted to build something.
hmm
Now is a crazy exciting time to be building. But even then, right, technology was moving really fast. And the initial spark for us was everything that was happening with the gig economy and ride sharing and Uber and
Yeah.
Lyft. That was sort of our first market opportunity. We jumped in. Ride sharing was still banned in upstate New York at the time, and
hmm
we were able to establish contracts with these local taxi companies.
hmm
And then we handled the technology and the marketing on these campuses. And you can imagine the amount of fun that we had. Right? It was really where we cut our teeth. And what does it mean to build production software? How do you all the different components that go into creating a business from nothing.
hmm
Um, but it wasn't going to be a long-term opportunity, right? We really wanted to build something that, uh, carried more weight, more scale, more everything with it. And as we were working with these taxi companies, uh, no matter how well the app was doing, there was still the calls would just ring off the hook incessantly. And this was 2018, and it was right when the last era of AI was having its moment, right? It was Alexa and it was Google Home, but pivoted the business and started building with that version of this
hmm
technology, started to figure out how do you take the technology, turn it into a product that is going to be able to ultimately deliver the business outcomes for these companies that are using it, and do it in a way that is easy to pick up, easy to implement, easy to measure the outcomes that you're getting, easy to administer it.
hmm
And then how do you wrap that in a business model and in a go-to-market motion that allow you to work with all of the companies in that industry, right? One of
hmm
the temptation around, I'm going to build the AI everything for everyone, right? Everybody gets stuck trying to be too much for too many people because it's just like the pull of, big market, limitless opportunity. Why can't I do it? And when you force yourself to be hyper focused, you then start to think about, okay, how can I get just like every company that is like this company to for it to be a no-brainer for them to use our product. And so we really went through that journey for the first couple of years post-grad in the transportation space. It is one of these like, who would have thought that the taxi industry would be at the frontier of AI adoption in their customer experience? And that's the reality of how it played out. And a lot of it was the pressure that they were getting in the marketplace from Uber and Lyft and rideshare and then to evolve. And also their willingness, right? They were looking for technology to combat the technology that was disrupting them.
I wanted to double click for a moment on what you said. Like everyone goes through this phase of wanting to build the AI for everything and everyone. Um, were you kind of sort of inoculated against that because you were kind of already working in the transportation industry with these taxi companies, or did you also go through that phase where you said, "Oh my God, the possibilities are limitless. Let's just build something limitless."
There are two types of pivots, right? You can do a market pivot or you can do a product pivot.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, right? So for us, we did a product pivot. We were
Yes.
already working in that market. We were
Yeah.
already selling to those companies.
Hmm.
And this was us saying, we want to continue selling to you, but we want to sell you something different because by working with you and learning your business and learning from you, we have found what we think is like a much more powerful solution.
Hmm.
I think a lot of credit goes to, we went through Cornell's eLab program and
Hmm.
they preached the fundamentals, right? It was very much so about like, you need to be concrete on what's the problem that you're solving, who are you solving it for, and then, you know, there's a lot of like smoke and mirrors and marketing and all these things that are going on in the world of AI right now. But it was like the fundamentals. It was like, if you want something to work for a lot of people, then you need to make it work first for a small number of people.
I also find, and maybe this is something they talked about in the Cornell eLabs as well. There's also two startups types, right? In the early stage, there's those that have a solution that's looking for a problem, and then they have a problem looking for a solution.
Our category, right? We do AI for customer service, which is one
Yes.
of, right, today in summer of 2026. This is one of the obvious big opportunities for AI in the enterprise, right? When
Yeah. Yeah.
when when C-suite at large corporations are sitting down and saying, how can we apply AI in our business today to drive big impact? This is on the top 3 list.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of funding, there's a lot of startups, and there are so many companies that have approached this market. I would say, parroting back your language, they've approached it from the technology outward rather than
Okay.
from the customer inward. They haven't said like, there's this business that I deeply understand. I understand how it works. I understand the pains that they have, and I want to solve that problem. And this technology is going to help me solve that problem. They've instead approached it, AI is this amazing new technology. I want to build a company with AI and let me figure out where it can be applied. And I'm going to apply it to customer service. And it is very like technology outward versus like customer inward, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah. Come listen to my agents and see them pick up a phone call without ever having thought about processes or back office systems or all that stuff, right?
and very like, oh yeah, here is some tooling, and I'm sure that you guys have a huge team of engineers and product people and AI experts that can go and build the agent and integrate it with your
Yeah,
systems.
because AI experts are a dime a dozen and you can find them everywhere at low price, right?
And especially, right, there's the technology companies are filled with engineers, right? You are a technology company, you're building products. When you go out into all of these other industries that you're serving where this technology is really like ready to be used for this use case, right? Big consumer industries, they're not full of engineering teams, right? Their product organization is their team that is deciding what are the shirts or like what is the formula for the supplement that we are creating, right? They are creating goods and services that are not software.
Right.
And the idea that they just have these like big teams of engineers and data scientists and everything that are sitting around to waiting to build an agent from scratch on top of your on top of your like LLM wrapper, that's not reality. And there is nowhere there that is more true than in the taxi industry. You know how many engineers work at a taxi company? Zero.
So is that something that you, when you talk to founders, are maybe a little bit behind you, maybe a bit younger, is that something you impress on them? Like you have to start from an actual problem and not just from a technology?
Yeah, I think that it comes up. I try and you know, stay off my soapbox, if you will. I think wisdom is good, but like you can find examples where every strategy works. There's got to be that concept of like there's product market fit, but then there's like founder business fit, and like
Yes.
people need to. There are a lot of things that we did that were that were like cutting against the grain when we were building
Yeah.
this business that have now in the balance of time become the de facto way that AI companies are built. And everybody was telling us, why are you doing that? And
Mhm. Do you
but
have an
for us,
example, something you're comfortable mentioning?
Roland, who would I be if I showed up and I didn't have an example?
I love
um,
that.
a super popular business model with AI startups today is usage or performance based billing,
Yes.
right? So rather than the classic SaaS charging for
Hmm.
seats, I'm going to charge you for the amount of phone calls that I automate.
Yeah.
We started doing that from the beginning, right? And
Mm.
it was first principles that got us there. We were showing up with a new technology to skeptical buyers, but if the technology worked, it was going to be transformative for them.
Yeah.
And so what we needed to do was we need to remove all of the risk of trying it, and we
Hmm.
needed to shoulder all of the burden of it working. And
Yeah.
so we showed up and we said, no money up front, 2-week free trial. We are already integrated with your tech stack. We're already
Yeah.
working with some other people that you know in your industry. And we are only going to charge you for the phone calls that work. We're only going
Yeah.
to charge you for the queries that we solve.
Hmm.
And and for everything else, we're going to escalate it. And
Hmm.
for us, making decisions from the customer back, right? Like really thinking like what is the right thing for the customer that we are talking to at this moment in time in the business. That was the obvious way to price this. But we
Yeah.
would then go and we would talk to investors or, seasoned operators, and they were like, "Oh, so what it's like the payment processing companies." That was like the closest comparable to like a usage based billing model.
Yeah.
And the payment processing companies, like, they never got SaaS multiples, right? It was always like, they would get valued at like 3x or whatever it was, and would get valued at like 10 or 12x. So everybody that was like smart and wise and had been around the block was like, hey, like, why are you guys doing this? That's clearly not the right way. Like, you're not even a SaaS company. And for us, we were just operating on like, what makes sense.
I love that. Were there some other first principles that led you to different directions than what was conventional? Because you're really talking about counter-conventional thinking, right?
We, from the beginning, took a industry specialized approach to this category, right?
Yeah.
So the category of AI customer support, the de facto model that most people take is we're going to take the models, we're going to package in all the core technology components, we're going to create a UI that allows any company to build their agent from scratch on top of the platform.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go and we're going to sell it to companies across every industry. We're going to work
Yeah.
with a retailer one day, a healthcare company the day after that, a bank, an airlines, a utility company. And we took the opposite approach. We said, we're going to build for one industry
Hmm.
rather than just providing tooling and then leaving it to every customer for them to build their agent themselves. We said, we're going to build the best AI agent for a retailer, right? Imagine a customer service rep that has answered 300 million phone calls on behalf of the best brands in retail.
Mhm.
that you, as another retail brand, have the opportunity to hire and have work for your organization answering all of your phone calls. We built all of that intelligence, all of the know-how around what are the nuances and the edge cases that you need to account for when canceling an order, or
Right.
when issuing an RMA, right, a return label, or when answering product questions, managing a subscription, scheduling appointments, rather than leaving it to every company to build all of these workflows for all of their call topics with all of the edge cases, leaving it to them to figure it out, to, go through 6 months to launch a first version and then see all the issues with version 1, need to get it to version 1.5 and then version 2 and then version 2.5 and like really build the agent from scratch themselves. We said, we are going to build the perfect agent for this industry, and then we're going to allow every company to customize it to their specific business logic and their brand
Hmm.
voice, right? Give them the strategic controls that they need. So whether you sell subscription supplements or you sell shoes or whatever you sell, the reasons why customers are reaching out are overwhelmingly the same. And the systems that your team, your agents are using on the back end to resolve those questions are the same. So
Yeah.
rather than forcing every company to like build it themselves, we said, we're going to build it. And then we're going to allow you to, right, pull those strategic levers to make it what it needs to be exactly for your brand. But so much of it is the same for everybody. And so that
It's really an
still,
illustration, if I may, Brian, that this is by defining your customer more narrowly upfront, you can then go so much deeper in providing the actual value. It's almost like the others, the blue ocean kind of approach companies, if you will, that they kind of abdicate their responsibility for that last mile, right? And you're
yep.
able to build that for customers because you know it's this particular customer,
Mhm.
these specific systems. That must
And
provide so much
mhm.
higher value to customers as well.
And what I'll tell you is it's not a last mile, it's a last 100 miles, right?
Exactly how they
And
see it as well, right?
all it takes is talking to the people running the customer service department at these organizations to realize that, like, they know that it's not, people don't reach out about three things, their agents don't use one system. Like, that is not reality. Reality is it's much more breadth and it's much more depth. And if you are not building all of that into your platform, then you are forcing them to do it. We'll talk to somebody that has spent the last couple years trying to build their agent on top of one of these platforms. And there is a team of 20 people provided by the vendor that is building the agent from scratch for that one particular brand. And we show up and we say, like, why would you want to spend the next 5 years building yourself 20%, 10% of what we have out of the box today, right? You, in 2 years working with 20 people at their company, you've gotten 3 of your things launched in production and 1 integration, right? You can do an order delivery status and you can do a cancellation, but you've got
And
98
it's
other
already proven
things.
with the backend systems that we know you use, right?
Exactly. When you go and you talk to the leaders that are implementing these solutions today, time and time again, the best outcomes are from the companies that are working with these industry specialized solutions. And so for
Hmm.
us, we're doing that in transportation, we're doing it in retail, we're doing it in healthcare. That's it. If we had a large telco company come to us last year and they wanted to work with us, they had heard great things from our clients, whatever, and we were like, sorry, right? Our Literally, you can turn on Flip and it will not be able to do anything for you. The agent will be the dumbest agent you've ever talked to because it's not trained to handle the topics that people are calling your telco business about. Ultimately, what matters is you have a piece of technology that is capable of delivering a business outcome, and the product layer and the delivery layer is like, how effectively is the technology delivering the outcome? And the
Hmm.
industry specialized players are consistently getting better and better outcomes in the marketplace. And this is true, right? This is true in our category, it's true in other categories. So tying this all the way back, we were very cutting against the grain in the bet to be verticalized, right? This
Yes,
idea of vertical AI and even vertical SaaS was like kind of a thing. It was kind of interesting, right? You had Service Titan and some other, right, Procore, some other companies that were doing it. Um, but the whole first wave of AI was super generic, super horizontal, and only recently have you started to see a lot more attention and a lot more chatter and a lot more interest in this vertical AI approach. And you're seeing these companies that are raising, the level of scale that we were able to get to on the amount of capital that we raised is like, you know, uh, orders of magnitude more efficient
yeah, yeah,
than the horizontal competitors. And now you're starting to see these companies really break out. And it's because, right, ultimately what matters is how good of outcomes are you delivering for your clients, and how hard is it for you to deliver them consistently and at scale. And it turns out doing bespoke builds for every single client is not that scalable of an approach. Part of what I love about retail is it is the only industry where the name of, right, they refer to companies as brands.
uh-huh,
That it is so elite and it has persisted for so long, and it is so expressive of, um, right, brand is synonymous with the customer experience, right? They
yes,
really, they go one to one. And so when you look at all these industries, they all look up to retail as like the premium when it comes to, um designing and orchestrating and like how to create emotion and connection and all of those
exactly.
things, like at scale, how to treat your customers right. uh which means that both they have the most to gain and they have the most to lose when they adopt this
Mm-hmm.
technology. When you get AI for your customer service, you are saying, I am going to purchase and I'm going to implement this piece of AI that is going to have thousands of conversations with my customers every single day. Those can go amazingly well or they can go horribly wrong. We've all seen the news cycles of, where things haven't gone well. And so the idea of an industry specialized solution and like the agent that is already working on behalf of Under Armour and Tory Burch and all of these, marquee brands, and it's been trained and optimized over so many conversations. Part of it is like speed to market. Part of it is the performance that you're going to get, right? The business outcomes you're going to achieve. And another part of it that is a huge part of the consideration is just the like safety factor, right? The idea that like I don't want to trust this person on my team that like is just learning how AI works to go and build something that is going to be talking to my customers every day. There's real brand risk associated with that.
Absolutely,
And
right?
so we're able to come and say, hey, like this thing is battle tested. This thing works. We know this is exactly how you are going to test it, connect it, configure it, and then roll it out to make sure that this thing goes off without a hitch, and to make sure that this new superpower that you have is channeled for good and delivers the positive outcome and not the negative outcome.
You're almost like providing the trust building as part of the package, or maybe even the whole change management inside the company as part of the package, right?
Undoubtedly. And some of the people that have been with us for a few years, they have implemented this technology successfully for dozens of
Mm-hmm.
large premium household name brands. And I tell them all the time, like, you don't realize how much of an expert you are and how much of an imbalance there is between everything that you know about the right
Mm-hmm.
way to do this successfully and the new customer, the new client, the new brand that is signing up and just starting their journey with us now. They work with us because they trust us, because we have delivered the results for
Mm-hmm.
250 other brands just like them. And it is our duty, right? One of the things that I say to clients all the time is we bear the burden of the outcome.
Yeah.
It is our job from day one forever to own the ultimate delivery of the result, not to just provide a piece of software, not to just provide venture funded professional services, but to
Hmm.
actually own that this thing is going to go off without a hitch. This is what it's going to deliver. This is what you can stand behind to your leadership team in terms of what the business outcomes are going to be. And it's really cool for the people that work here that, gosh, like they are on the front lines of one of the biggest AI categories that are out there right now. I think that the magic potion here is uh, like we've built our business on the idea of having a reference list as long as our client list. We
Right.
know that every single client that we bring on, that we take care of, right? When there's a million vendors, a high stakes decision, everybody's looking for their peers to tell them who to work with and how
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. Exactly.
cross the chasm. And so trust is the ultimate currency. And we are able to achieve that by one, the product outcomes that we deliver, and two, the experience that our team delivers, right? It is like we
Excellent.
need to be the most impactful tool in their tech stack and their favorite vendor to work with. Either one of those on its own is not enough. It has to be both of them. Um,
I love how high you raise the bar for your team that way, like you're setting really high standards, and that's gonna drive our success. I love that. That's very good. Can you talk a little bit about how you expanded into other verticals? Because transportation was first, and I believe retail came next, and now healthcare most recently, right? Goes a little bit against what you said before, like we want to really deeply own one vertical, right? But now you're still expanding. So how are you striking that balance?
the category demands a industry specialized product. Like there is not product market fit without the industry specialized approach. You have to take the time to build the industry specialized solution. You have to build everything into the platform. You have to have a team, right? Our teams are built by industry, right? When you talk to our customer success team, the person that you're talking to only works with clients in that industry. When you talk to a salesperson, they're only working in that industry. If you can execute what we call the multi-vertical strategy, that is where you can turn around and we firmly believe that with this category is going to produce a Salesforce sized outcome, and that's even a little out of style these days, but like this is one of the really really important categories of enterprise software. And if you can find a way to both do it right, meaning do it industry specialized, and then replicate that in a few different places, um, you can really build something special.
Well, you guys did tremendous growth over the years, raised good money, had signed up so many customers. What would you say were some of the key breakthroughs that you encountered or that led to like a new chapter altogether or a new way of thinking about the company?
One of those like old idioms is strong convictions loosely held.
Yes.
And that captures a lot of like the right mindset. You need to both believe things that nobody else yet sees or believes,
Right.
and run straight through all the doubters. And then at the same time, like really be a student of the market and like a student of your own business, and like
Hmm.
honest around where are things working, where are things not working. And when it makes sense, like have the humility and the courage to drop what you're doing and go in a different direction. One of the things that I tell everybody that works here and new employees that are joining is everything in this company is written in pencil. It's in
Hmm.
pencil, not pen. And like it's your job to come in and pick up the pencil and go and make it better.
Okay, well, we're in the last minutes of the recording. I always am interested in the person behind the startup. And so, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like, your teenage years? And was there anything that would have predicted that you'd be such a successful founder CEO one day?
It's a good question. I grew up in the New York area in so many ways, just like a normal kid. Love sports. Um, it's funny. Like I never thought that I was an adrenaline junkie when I was growing
Uh-huh.
up, and now I look at my life and it's like maybe there is some threads of that going on. Um, but I think that there was a competitiveness, there was a
Mhm.
team orientation, there was a curiosity, there was a self-belief. Um,
What
I
was your favorite
remember
sport as a kid?
I was a hockey player.
Hockey player. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely like the competitiveness, the aggression, but also the team spirit that you learn, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to one of our board members the other night, and he was like, "Every once in a while, when I'm talking to you, I need to remember that I'm talking to a hockey player."
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
I don't really know what that means, but if it allows us to communicate more effectively,
I
then I'm
mean,
all for it.
we always say feedback says as much about the person giving it as the person receiving it, right? So,
Yeah,
what was there
that's
somebody in
awesome.
your childhood or teenage years that really inspired you around, entrepreneurialism, taking control of your own life, the kind of person that saw a spark in you earlier than you did?
I think we were raised in a like you can do anything if you put your mind to it and you
Uh-huh.
stick with it, um and we were always encouraged, like if there was something that we were passionate about, like lean in and like go for it and see how far you can take it. And I
Hmm.
think that gives you an appreciation for like the roller coaster dynamics of it and the
Yeah,
twisting and the turning and all of those things. But I had not. I I showed up to college and startup was not a word in my vocabulary. Like
I see. Yeah.
all of that came from Sam. He grew up on the West Coast in a family that had been in and around technology and startups, and he had been building and playing with things even before we met. And then when I met him, and you know, it was one of those like light bulb moments, and one of those like I now know what I want to spend my time on,
Excellent.
and
Yeah.
um,
That's so powerful when you know that for your life, right? But that sounds like that we might spend another podcast on just that topic at some point in time. And I do love repeat guests. So when your new product comes out or you're entering a new vertical, I'd love for you to come back and tell us all about it. But for now, Brian, thank you so much for this episode. And where can people find out more about you or maybe be in touch with you? And if there's something on the website, is there a particular thing that they should download or read if they want to hear more about you?
yeah, I'd say we're more LinkedIn than X,
Yeah.
but you can certainly find us online. Find me on LinkedIn.
Of course, if someone who wants to be in touch with Brian, you know me, you don't know Brian yet, I'm happy to always provide an introduction. With that, thank you so much, Brian. This has been an amazing interview. Love to have you on the show and see all the success that Flip is achieving in your under your leadership. And for the audience, we will have another founder, maybe not quite as amazing as Brian, but still a good breakthrough AI operator on the show again next week. So stay tuned.
That's what a breakthrough actually looks like. One founder, one honest story, every week. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this with a founder you think is ready for it. Find us at baio.midstage.ac. See you in the next episode.